Looking for nerdy news? You're in the right place.
Great. This guy's gonna be late again.
This is the Nerdy News Rundown.
I got plenty of time.
On today's show, Star Wars. Is Rian Johnson still doing that trilogy? Infinity War. What's up with Captain America and Iron Man? Are they still friends? The Matrix. Apparently we're getting a cinematic shared universe? We're going over all of that and your questions.
I'm gonna be late!
I'm your host, Josh Lucas, broadcasting live from Uncanny in the King of Prussia Mall, Philadelphia. Let's get this show started. Oh man, oh man, oh man. What is up, all of you beautiful nerds around the world? I want to thank you for inviting me into your home or to your car or into your boardroom meeting, which I don't know why you would be doing that, but thank you. Thank you all for all of the love and support. I, of course, want to shout out Uncanny for being so awesome. They, of course, sponsored the show. Big part of what I am doing with the channel. Go give them some love on social media. And if this video is uploaded a little bit late today, it is Rob McPhee's fault because Rob and I hadn't seen each other in like 2 weeks or something. And so we got wrapped up in conversation. But I'm going to put all of the blame on that one for Rob. Before we get into the show, too, I do want to say two things. One, got the Patreon going on. We're getting more and more support every day. I appreciate it. You guys are amazing. The uncut interview with Zena Duncan is up there now. I dropped that yesterday. You're getting early access to videos, tons of cool stuff. We got to schedule our first Q&A live stream with you guys on there, so I'm going to be reaching out to people about that. That's going to be a ton of fun. But also, I wanted to say there's something really cool happening in the comment section of the videos on this channel. We are doing something that I always envisioned doing, but we've never sort of hit our stride in, and that is actually building a community. And I'm very excited about this, but I wanted to sort of put a disclaimer out there for you. All kinds of nerds are invited to the Den of Nerds. Like, no matter what your beliefs are, whether it be politically or about a thing in fandom, you can come here and voice your opinions. Now, I do suggest that you actually, treat people with human courtesy and respect and try to have an actual conversation with people. But I want to sort of outline that because, look, I am not going to be picking sides. And even though this is not like a political channel, it is super hard to sort of unravel and separate completely like the political environment that we live in from these things that are going on. So I just want everybody to take notice of that because I'm not picking sides. I'm not going to do that in the comment section. I have my own set of beliefs, and they just happen to be like my opinions, which I formulate on a subject by subject basis. I don't like strictly adhere to one groupthink or the other. So I just wanted to put that out there. I am so grateful that we're doing this thing together. We're actually creating this really cool environment. But I just kind of wanted to put that out there. Like, I'm not going to shun certain people because of their beliefs, whether or not they fall on either side of the spectrum. So I wanted to say that. So let's get into the first topic of the day. It's Star Wars. This has to do with Rian Johnson and his trilogy. Now, we got told about this trilogy before The Last Jedi even came out. And I don't know if you guys are having a similar experience to this as far as I am, but before The Last Jedi came out, when it was announced that Rian Johnson was getting a whole new trilogy, I was actually incredibly excited about it. And not only was I excited about it, I thought that it meant that The Last Jedi was like just a complete masterpiece and a completely amazing film. And for some of you, you might think that. You might still believe that. I do not. So although I love The Last Jedi, and I've watched it so many times now, I think I'm getting close to the double digits with it. But I probably got an 8 or 9. Even though I love that movie, objectively, I just don't think it's a masterpiece. I objectively don't think it's as good as some people claim it is, including critics. And I'm actually going to say some stuff in this segment of the show, which you as a Star Wars fan might not expect to hear coming out of my mouth, but I'm just going to be completely real with you. So Now, fast forward to, post Last Jedi, post The Divide, post everything. I'm at a place where I'm indifferent to Ryan doing his trilogy. Like, for instance, I think that he's a creative genius. I think that what he did with certain aspects of The Last Jedi was just so brilliant that I would be excited to see him take on a new trilogy from a creative standpoint. I would be very excited about that. But also, there's this other side of me that's like, well, considering the fan base, considering The Divide, I would not care at all if Lucasfilm was like, no, we're not going to do that trilogy. Now, here's what's really interesting about this story and what I want to get into. It is so clear to me after watching the special features on The Last Jedi, and there's a brilliant documentary on there called The Director in The Last Jedi, showcasing like Ryan coming on board. Now, it was such a crazy thing, and it sort of reminds us, takes us all the way back to when he was first announced. What a crazy idea, Rian Johnson. Rian Johnson, a very bold filmmaker, indie filmmaker, does a lot of crazy things with his movies, and it was so interesting to see what he would do with Star Wars. What was he going to do with Star Wars, right? So I remember like way back then, right? And it's interesting, you fast forward now, and as I'm watching all of the special features, as I'm really digging into this process and sort of formulating my opinion about different things, I have to be completely honest with you. I think Rian Johnson is a douchebag. Honestly. And I know that's like crazy, right? That's sort of triggery for some of you. But I'm not saying that he's not brilliant. I'm not saying that he's not like a kind person. I'm not trying to attack him as a person. But I'm saying that it is just so clear when you look at, from my opinion, when you look at what was going on with the special features, this guy he's a douchebag. And so he literally comes into Star Wars, and his objective is to shake it up, to wreck it, to do things that are absolutely crazy. And you just watch how he talks with the actors, watch how he talks with Kathy and all these. He's this kind of brilliant guy. And Carrie actually speaks to this a little bit in the special features where she says he's an asshole. And she says that it's not that he's not good at what he does, but he will strike you as this very kind, very submissive, very kind of, casual dude. And yet he's very authoritative. He wants his vision executed. He's literally sort of politicking behind the scenes. And so he's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. That is a definition, what I got, the vibes that I got from Ryan in those special features. And so, like, I literally think now that my opinion of this guy has sort of shifted. I do love his work, and I think that he's great as an artist. But he came in with the intentions to shock and awe and to create this thing that was very divisive and all over the place. And you also can see in that movie, man, the beginning of that documentary, you have Kathy Kennedy literally being like, so she's praising this guy so much, which she did again at Celebration. I was there, I witnessed it, and I was like, oh yeah, everyone's so excited. Talking about to the cast and crew, he literally says like, look guys, I think we all know we were just a part of something really, really special. And Kathy, Lucasfilm, Ryan, everybody was so convinced that they had made something so special, so amazing, so prolific, the thing that was going to change Star Wars, that was going to take us into a new era. And I truly believe that they were completely blindsided by the crazy amount of divide, the crazy amount of hate that came towards The Last Jedi. I am not a Last Jedi hater, but I am aware and I respect a lot of the people on that side of the fence that bring up things that are objectively true and, things that I think the movie did that I wasn't a big fan of. So for me, what I'm interested in and why I wanted to talk about this story is because I was very curious as to how Lucasfilm would handle this. So they are not good at sort of admitting that they make mistakes. Just in general, like big corporations don't like to do that. And to be honest with you, they probably shouldn't. It's not good PR to be like, yeah, no, we totally screwed up. We're going to correct course. Sometimes that's the answer, DC Extended Universe. Sometimes it's not. And so specific to this story, I was like, well, how are they going to handle this? Because everybody internally loves The Last Jedi. Bob Iger loves The Last Jedi. All of these people love The Last Jedi, but then they're a publicly traded company. So when the shareholders and when the board and different like entities that have power in Disney are like, look at what's happening out there. This is a huge thing for us. I was very curious to see how Lucasfilm and Disney would respond. What are they going to do, right? It would appear that they are moving forward with that. Now, they talked to Ryan's producer. I believe his name is Ram or Ram. I think it's Ram. And they talked to him and they talked to Ryan recently Entertainment Weekly talked to them, and they have spoken to the fact that they are working on the new trilogy. So Ryan is working on it in some way, and so is the producer. They are working on it. And so the story out there right now, this is what a lot of people are going to run with. They're going to say Ryan's new trilogy is indeed confirmed. It is indeed moving forward. There's nothing official from Disney. There's nothing official from Lucasfilm, but I tend to believe that they will move forward with those movies. But I'm so interested in this, and mostly I wanted to talk to you guys about this. There are a lot of you out there that love Rian Johnson, which, by the way, even though I think he's a douchebag, I still love him. It's not that I don't love the guy. I actually, to be honest with you, I love him a little bit more now that I know kind of what's going on in his head, right? He's this masterful sort of manipulator of things, right? But I'm very curious to know what all of you guys think. Would you be down? Like, do you want this trilogy to continue? Do you think that he'll hold back at all? Because I think, considering what I learned about him, and as I said, I really do think he's a douche, he's going to embellish. He's not going to back away. The hate will galvanize him. The hate will galvanize him, and he will create something absolutely absurd. And what I'm interested in is, first of all, I think that could be awesome, especially if it's removed from main trilogy stuff that we have a big attachment to. I think it could be great. But also, what is Disney going to do? Like, how are they going to respond to that? Like, to Kathy, he's the golden boy. And while the movie did make a ton of money, it's literally affected business. It has literally affected them, in my opinion, in no small way. So interested in this story. This is craziness. Like, apparently they're going to move forward. I want to know what you guys think. I'm sorry, I'm rambling a little bit here, but this is a big deal to me as a huge Star Wars fan. So I want to know what you all think. Please let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. Let's move in to the next topic. This was kind of a super story I wanted to touch on. It is, of course, Infinity War related. Now, all of the actors and actresses that are in Avengers Infinity War are going around doing press. A lot of information is coming out there, and some of it's like a little bit spoilery. This is not one of those. This was something that I picked up on where Robert Downey Jr. was asked about Captain America, and he basically said that to him, the character of Tony still hate Captain America, will still want to punch him in the face when he sees him. And I thought that was really interesting, but he also kind of talked about how he just loves being on screen with Evans, and Evans has sort of come to embody all of the purity, all of the goodness, all of the qualities of Captain America that we as fans really, really enjoy. So we like this, and I love hearing these comments. And what it made me think about was, what is that relationship going to be like? Now, we know, like, from what Ruffalo's been saying, that when Hulk comes back, he's not going to understand it. He's not going to understand the divide. But the divide is completely real, and you have to go back to Civil War. Man, Cap knew that Bucky killed his parents and kept that from Tony. I mean, like, how do you exactly get over that? And I don't think Captain America will ever trust Bucky, the White Wolf. And so it will be very interesting to see that relationship as it moves forward. He also said something very odd in the interview where he said, it's going to be really hard for me, and I don't know how I'm going to deal with it when Chris Evans is no longer Captain America, which to me was sort of spoiler territory. And it honestly might mean that Tony lives and Cap does not. That would be wild, right? Like, if Cap dies, and like, what a legacy to leave behind, what a crazy thing. But then how does Tony deal with that? And how does he deal with maybe Bucky Barnes maybe being the new Captain America? I mean, that's absolutely absurd. And I think that it could make for some really good drama into the future. But as far as the relationship goes in Infinity War, I'm curious as to where Steve's head is at with it. Remember, Steve gives him the phone and writes up the note, and he apologizes to him. And I think that just Steve, just being the character that he is, he's gonna be okay with Tony's situation, with the perspective that Tony has. He's going to understand it, but also they have a common enemy. They have to work together. And so this Avengers disassembled thing is going to have to be brought back together. That is the whole idea with Civil War. And I'm so grateful, too, that the Russo brothers are picking up that thread. What they did in Civil War was absolutely amazing. And for them to now carry on all of these characters, all of this drama into Infinity War and have it all play within the realm of Thanos and cosmic stuff as well. I mean, I'm so excited for it, guys. Like, I had this moment today as I was researching for the show where I was like, oh my God, like, Infinity War is actually happening. It's actually weeks away. I have my tickets. I'm going to sit down and watch this movie with my friends and, like, it's gonna be special. Like, it's really gonna be special. Ah, man, I had that moment. So I was curious. I want to know what you guys think specifically about the Captain America Iron Man relationship. I guess the big question becomes, will they be able to reconcile by the end of the movie, whether or not they die? Like, is Tony going to have to watch Cap die? Is Cap going to die? And Steve's going to have to know he never bridged that gap? What is going to happen with these two men that have had these moments together, that have had this friendship, and then had that completely devastated? Do you think that it will be repaired before they pass? Do you think that they'll die without it being resolved? How do you think the other characters are going to deal with that? Because these are the two big guys. It was Team Cap or Team Iron Man. That was Civil War. These were the big two personalities, the clashing. And so how do you think the other Avengers will deal with that? I mean, that's a very interesting question and topic as well. So I wanted to address it. There's a whole bunch of cool Infinity War stuff happening. I'm dropping little bonus videos here and there. Check those out on the channel. But I definitely want to know what everybody thinks about that in the comment section below. So let me know about that. Now let's get in to the third topic of the day. This one, man, this one is really exciting. So, The Matrix. Great trilogy, maybe. At least one great movie. And some people don't like the second and the third. I happen to actually really like the second and the third movie. Now, I was younger when I saw them, so you have sort of that prequel thing going on where if you were a younger person, you probably don't mind the prequels as much as the older fans. But I actually love The Matrix, and I love the world that The Matrix created. There were the Animatrix sort of anime shorts. There were books. There were video games. I loved the world of The Matrix. I thought it was a perfect place to play in. There's a lot of mythology going on. There's a lot of interesting things going on there. Now, we had heard rumors for going back to over a year ago that there was going to be a Matrix reboot, right? That there was sort of a writer's room being assembled, that they were doing something big with the Matrix property. And I mean, they probably should. I mean, this was one of Warner Brothers' most successful franchises. It was huge for them. It was huge for movies in general. And it would be great. Now, we had heard different things. Like, for instance, at one time, there was a rumor it was going to be a prequel about Morpheus, and Michael B. Jordan was going to star in the role. Holy crap, that would be amazing. I'd be really into that. But more and more recently, we have heard this idea of a shared universe and that being thrown around. So that's sort of the what I wanted to get into here, because there's reports now that the guy who wrote Ready Player One, and I actually lost my thing here, so I'll try to look this up for you guys real quickly. But the guy that wrote Ready Player One, he is, of course, penning or a part of the writer's room for this new Matrix cinematic universe. Okay, and he had some interesting things to say recently when talking about the movie. Apparently, they do have a direction. They have, yes, it's Zach Penn. That's the guy. And so he's a part of this writer room. He's a part of, like, apparently figuring this out. But it's more real than it's ever been that we are indeed going to get this Matrix movie. Now, some people, okay, so here's what he says. I've been working on the Matrix right now, which is in a phase right now. That's a franchise I desperately want to see brought back, and I can't go into too much detail, but I've been harassing Warner Brothers for years trying to get it going again. I think Oasis, which is the thing from Ready Player One, is similar both to The Matrix, because Oasis and The Matrix are both brilliant ideas for universes. They are not, when it comes to The Matrix, but people are like, oh, are they going to reboot The Matrix? I was like, why? I'm not insane. I mean, The Matrix is still one of my favorite movies. If they'd re-release them, I'd love them. Here he says, I was at the premiere and I was still like, this was better than I ever expected. So I just think that our universe is brilliant, that Oasis is like an action comedy version of that. And it doesn't have to be the same characters, but you could go in so many different directions. So that's what he said. And I wanted to get into this a little bit because I find it fascinating. So you could do all sorts of things. We know that there were different versions of the one before. You could focus on any number of those characters. You could also focus on what happens after Neo, right? Because, the Oracle said, like, I think we'll see Neo again. What is interesting is he could reappear and not be Keanu Reeves. Now, if they did end up going with Keanu Reeves, I would lose my mind, and I would be so happy to have him a part of that universe in some capacity. But remember what happened to the Oracle. She sort of had to change her appearance, which was a brilliant way to diegetically explain an actress passing and having to recast. But because of the world you create within the Matrix, that can all make sense in the story wise. That's what I mean diegetic. It means it comes from the world of the story. So you could have Neo, but looking different because he just had to re-enter the Matrix as like sort of like a different shell. And you could have all sorts of characters still plugging in there. Zion is still exists. This whole world is so fresh and set up for interesting things. And nowadays, the technology we have and the effects, holy crap. If they decided to revisit the Matrix, I would be so excited. That would be an awesome thing. And you talk about a shared universe, you could have, different ship crews, interacting, different characters within the Matrix, you know what I mean? Like Agent Smith sort of perhaps reappearing or a similar agent doing their thing. What is going on with the machines exactly? I mean, superhero type stuff going on, creating different characters. Because remember, the Seraph character, who I absolutely loved and totally underutilized in those movies, was this weird anomaly within the Matrix, and he was so good he could stand up and fight with Neo, and he glowed gold within the text and the mainframe, which I thought was so interesting. So there's all sorts of different little things that you could do there. I love the idea too of the power of the one be going beyond the Matrix. There's like metaphysical ideas being brought into there, right? Like, who exactly is this guy? Why does his power exist in the real and in the Matrix? What is that about exactly? And if they go to explore that, you have sort of a superhero godlike thing going on. That's very interesting. So that's the story. I think it's incredibly hype. I want to see it. I want to get back to that world. I loved The Matrix. I love those movies, and the lore was so cool. So I want to know what everybody else thinks about this, but like I'm totally on board. What do you guys think? Do you want to see some new Matrix stuff? Do you think it should go prequel? Do you think it should go after Neo? I mean, where is your head at with this? What would you like to see going on with that? Please let me know that and all of your thoughts about it in the comment section below. All right, let's get into our last official topic of the day. It's Star Wars related. You are looking at a picture of the Range Trooper, a new type of stormtrooper which will be in Solo, a Star Wars story. Now, we always get new versions of stormtroopers, we get new vehicles, all sorts of cool stuff in Star Wars movies. Usually this is for like toys and different things like that, but as huge Star Wars fans, we still absolutely love this kind of stuff. I thought the Range Trooper design looked really cool, but what's even cooler about the Range Trooper is the function that they serve within the galaxy. So we don't know too much about it, but reports are out there that these troopers are sort of more autonomous, and they sort of go around in the outer rim. And so they are literally sort of there to enforce the rules of the Empire, but they're autonomous because they're so far away from the core worlds, from the heart of the Empire, and from that strength that they need to sort of act more autonomously. And so, what I think this is going to do is introduce a side of the stormtroopers which are more apt to work with bounty hunters, which are more apt to work with gangsters and smugglers. And it's like the Wild West. Like the vibe that I'm getting from this thing, like what I'm hearing as they're sort of explaining this, that this is like the Wild West out there, guys. And these are sort of those sheriffs that can be super corrupt and gunslinging and doing all that craziness. I think the design looks super cool. But I am so excited to see more about these range troopers. This was an aspect of the film which I think is very interesting. I am, the Solo movie, once again, not to like go and retread old ground, but I was never a big fan of it being produced. I never really wanted it to be. But the more I am hearing about where the movie takes place, what parts of the Star Wars lore they are going to explore, the more excited I am. This really has that 1313 vibe, the smuggler bounty hunter vibe, really talking about like the gritty, shoot first, ask questions later sort of setting that I think we all really love from Star Wars. And so these troopers and the functionality that they have is just one more aspect to this whole thing. So I thought I just wanted to touch on this briefly, sort of explain it. It's cool news. Like if you're a big Star Wars fan, this is something that people are talking about, so you should know about it. But also, I think it's quite frankly really dope. Like they're existing out there in the unknown regions. Well, not the unknown regions, but like the outer rim. I am very excited to see if maybe Han Solo knows some of them, how his interactions with them are. Does he get codes from them, right? Because he has all these Imperial codes that he uses for smuggling and stuff. you pay a price to get them? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on with that? It's very, very interesting stuff. But I wanted to touch on that. Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section, guys. Okay. Now let's get into the last topic today. This is the fan question stuff, and there were a couple people that asked me some questions. They were all about Captain Marvel, and so I wanted to get in and talk about Captain Marvel. So people were asking me, think that film. I'm like, no, and Disney confirmed that she's not going to be. However, that does not mean she's not going to be in the post-credit scene. Something interesting that I'm trying to pull up who said it. A active here. Hold. But basically talking about how they could be on a secret mission, how Hawkeye and Ant-Man and the Wasp could be on a secret mission to find Captain Marvel. And I don't actually think that they're going to be on a secret mission. By the way, somebody brought up to me on yesterday's video, they said, like, look, I think Jeremy Renner has come out and said everything he does in the movie is a spoiler, and that's why he's not in the promotional material. That's really cool. That's an interesting. I mean, like, I had sort of assumed that, right? I sort of went into that, even on yesterday's show. But you can't be 100% certain about these things. Really said that. That's really cool. So spoilers, for sure. Dealing with different things, for sure. But going on a secret mission to find Captain Marvel? Nah, I don't think so. I do believe, though, that she will be the post-credit scene. I think she will be at least one of the post-credit scenes. And if for no other reason than to sort of pay homage to Iron Man 1, in which the original post-credit scene was Nick Fury coming in and talking about how you're a part of this bigger world and you don't even know it, I think you're going to get Nick Fury coming in talking about Sword and talking about Captain Marvel, maybe even introducing her to some of the Avengers. And so, you know, we're like, oh man, Nick Fury's not in the movie. This sucks. You know, like, I really want to see him in there. Oh, Captain Marvel's not in the first movie. That sucks. But I think that she is involved, obviously, with the Kree and the Skrull, and perhaps even out with Sword, which might even be secretly already established, because Nick Fury's always got plans within plans. He's a spy. He's doing that sort of thing. He could already have her established. We might get in that movie, which takes place in the 90s. That might already be a thing. And so maybe he's introducing her to the Avengers, whoever is left after Thanos, you know, totally whoops a bunch of butts. And so that is what I think is going to happen. We are definitely going to get her in a post-credit scene. I also think we'll get a post-credit scene with Ant-Man and the Wasp, which might tie into their movie and also into Avengers 4. Now, remember, I said this before, but I need to repeat it. It is said by the Russo brothers that some Avengers that are not that do not have a lot of screen time in the first movie get a lot of screen time in the second movie, and vice versa. So that's sort of where we're at with it. I appreciate the questions. I do not think they are on a secret mission to find her, but I do think that she will be a post-credit scene, and she's going to be a huge part of what happens in the fourth Avengers film. I mean, she's really, really strong. Some people suggest that maybe she is aware of where the Soul Gem is or the Soul Stone, and that she's sort of playing around with that. I don't know about all that. My mind tends to go to, and this is the last thing I'll say before I get off air, my mind tends to believe that she will sort of help Earth and form a coalition with the Kree and the Skrull. We got a live audience member, by the way, over there. It's Rob McPhee, everybody. But that she will help formulate a coalition with the Kree and the Skrull, and that they will form an armada, and they will all go to attack Thanos wherever he's at. And this, I think, it will pull from the Infinity storyline, which had a similar thing, but with the Builders, where essentially everybody in the universe sort of puts aside their differences. They're like, yo, we got to work together. This is like the Shi'ar. This is everybody. They put aside their differences, and they're like, we need to focus on this big cosmic threat, which will destroy us all. And that is the version of all of the heroes confronting Thanos in the throne from the Thanos Quest storyline. So I think that's what's going to happen, and Carol will be a very important part of that, beyond her just being very strong. Yes, Mr. McPhee. I sort of just answered that question for everybody else, but yes, I don't think that we'll see her getting her powers. I think Nick Fury will literally introduce her to the other Avengers, and it'll sort of pay homage to the first post-credit scene where he's talking to Tony about the larger world. I think that's the way that. Sort of. I think that they'll save her power thing for that solo movie. There's nothing wrong, in my opinion, with showing her as powerful already and then explaining it in the movie, in her solo movie. So that's kind of where my head's at with it. By the way, guys, if you have questions you want me to answer on a future show, please drop them in the comment section. I want to talk about what you guys want to talk about. So hit me up with your questions in the comment section below. Last thing I want to say, please consider checking out the Patreon. We are planning so much cool stuff. Rob and I actually, the reason this video is going up late, we were talking a lot this morning about another show we might start doing here. Maybe an after dark sort of show. But we can only do that if we continue to get support from you guys. So please consider checking out the Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you get access to all sorts of bonus content, and it legit helps us out. So thank you guys so much for your continued support. Consider checking that out. As I always say, I hope you are having an awesome and nerdy day, and I will see you tomorrow.